sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. Welcome, everybody, and hello. This is Andrew David. This is Blake Newbar's partner program. So I want to talk today, guys, a little bit about some challenges that a lot of us face. And so I want to share something that someone wrote. And here we have, so he says that is my current challenge that I need to conquer myself. I now know I can do the routine, tangible challenges like pushing myself physically, writing down unique things I'm grateful for every day, abstaining from alcohol and fried foods. It's the intangible challenges like posting meaningful content on social media without fear of rejection, completing my videos so I can finally launch, or that I can find the strength to believe I really can be successful as an entrepreneur. So I think at the core of what we're talking about here is doing the daily challenges, how it equates to some of these other things, and then building on this belief, like what's keeping you from posting? Why are we so concerned with what other people are commenting or are not commenting on? And then ultimately that belief that you can be successful. Now, Ryan's the one that posted this, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things, and obviously this is directed to him, but I'm guessing that he's not the only one that has some of those same feelings. Is that fair to say? I know for years I struggled with some of it too, and still do once in a while. Still do, still occasionally post something. I posted something last week. We got like 10,000 likes. And then I posted something the other day that I think has a dozen. And so sometimes you hit that home run and sometimes nothing happens. And yet we do it. And then we look at this thing, and obviously social media with this business is intrinsically linked, and we want the engagement. So we look at it and go, if they're not engaging, are they not engaging because my content sucks? Are they not engaging because they don't see it? Or are they not engaging because they don't like me? And oftentimes we take things pretty personal there. And then that next step, and I think the deeper question is about whether or not you'll ever be successful, whether or not I can ever be successful. And sometimes, and you can answer this, guys, you can answer in the chat if this is part of it, or you can kind of answer to yourselves. When you think about, whether or not you can be successful, how often is it tied to, I just don't know if I deserve it, or if I've done enough in my life to be successful, or if I can check off all the boxes of what I think other successful people have done so that I can match up to them. There's different reasons that we feel all of those things. So what I'd like to do is kind of talk about some of those along with some questions. Now, some of these questions you guys can answer to yourselves, but if you share, we can kind of go back and forth a little bit. So whether or not you want to answer, it kind of starts with you. So let's go with tangible versus intangible, doing these daily things. In my mind, you get through a month, we went through this challenge, depending on how you look at it, depending on how you look at the challenge, depending on what you challenge yourself to do and what you had to overcome to do it, I think can play into how much it spills over to other areas of your life. Looking at it and going, yeah, I'm doing it, I'm finishing it, versus, man, I can't believe it. I am finishing it, I am doing it. Every single day I did this. Part of it's just approaching it and what kind of attitude I'm using it as I do it. And if accomplishing that, and I think, Ryan, the fact that you did accomplish it, and for some of the others in there that may have downplayed a little bit what you did do over the course of the last, not just this last month, we've been doing challenges now for the last 3, 4, 5 months. And some of you guys have done some amazing things. And then downplay it. This goes to what we were talking about the other week about giving and receiving. Right? You accomplish something and you immediately discredit yourself. Yeah, now I know I can get that done. That's great. Fine. Whatever. As opposed to, every single day for 30 days, I was able to do this. I'm slowly picking up and establishing a higher level of character, a higher level of integrity, because you're being fulfilling and honest with yourself, because ultimately that's the only person this challenge is for, is yourself. So you're pushing that. And then as you do that over and over and over again, you start to build up that little bit of self-belief and confidence. Does 50 or 100 push-ups a day equate directly with business success? Not necessarily in the short term, but in the long term. If you look at people that have achieved success on a high level, daily activities, whatever the routine is, because some of them have very specific routines, some of them, are doing other things, but nearly every single one has something that they do consistently all the time. And they credit that consistency with having helped them in other aspects of their life, be it relationships, business success, and personal health and everything else. So one of the first things I would do is learn to catch yourself when you start to downplay what you have done. That's where I think the gratitude journal can really come in to play, and why this month, focusing on that gratitude is going to be so important. Every single day, talk about what you have done, talk about what you are accomplishing, but do it with language that is empowering to you. Next, anytime you talk about what you are doing or what you are attempting to do, watch out for the negative language. Things that remove power from you. Recognizing that you need to build the self-confidence, recognizing that you're concerned with other people is important. Okay, check that off. Now we need to move forward, and we need to kind of look at, why are we so worried about what other people are? There's a difference in what other people are thinking and what my clients want to see. Can we look at that? I want you guys to understand inherently, even though you're branding yourself oftentimes with this business, there is a big difference. The hat's not inspiring for the conversation. Sorry. It was the one that was clean that fit today, Hartley. Sorry. My other ones need washing. So when you look at the business versus you, when it comes to social media, don't personalize it as much. We need to recognize that sometimes I post something and it just doesn't get in front of the right people because of the algorithm, right? There's no way I had one that got in front of enough people to get 10,000 likes and then the next one only got 12. It's not like the content changed that much, guys. Like, the reality is, it's not like, oh my gosh, that one was amazing. That was such a cool picture. This one sucks so much. Everyone looked at it and went, no. So it was posted at the right time. It had some of the right hashtags. It got a little bit of traction at the beginning, and then Instagram used it to put it in front of additional people. It's not a reflection inherently on me. What I wrote, what I said, is how the algorithm shook out that day. Now, part of getting more and more engagement is consistency. So if you're worried about posting because you're not getting engagement, so you don't post, the next time you post, you're going to get less engagement. So you have to keep doing it, and not just over the course of a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You've got to do it consistently. So I will comment on people's comments, and I will do about, and this can be done in 20 minutes, guys, about 50 comments a day on other people's comments underneath certain influencers. I have a list of, Dean Graziosi, Robert Kiyosaki, Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Brendan Burchard, Jeff Lerner, David Sharp, Blake, and a few others. Every single day I comment on their posts. Then I comment on some other people's comments, and then I try and post daily. I miss sometimes, right? But the more frequently you post, eventually that engagement will creep up, but it does take a little time. Just be aware of that. And then we get to, why are we so concerned with what other people are thinking? First thing you do is, separate yourself from the business. And hey, if they don't comment right away, it's not a reflection on you. It really isn't. 9 times out of 10, it's not. Most of the time, it's just they don't see it, because Facebook doesn't automatically put things in front of people, especially if you're not posting on a consistent basis. They're not going to take the time to put it in front of people, right? Yeah. So Richard's talking about at the beginning, you're only reaching 1 or 2 people. Look, if you've got 1,000 friends, Facebook initially is going to put it in front of 20 to 50 if you're lucky. If you've been active, it'll increase as engagement increases and you are engaging on some of their posts. But at the beginning, that means that we're all starting from 0, right? So it's kind of like walking through a neighborhood with nobody there trying to sell something. It's going to take time before you get in front of the right people. So do you comment as you or as your business? Both. You can comment sometimes under your page. You can comment under your personal page. Just depends on how you want to do it. I do my personal as much as possible because my social media is my business, right? My Facebook page is my business. My business page is my business. It's all my business. That's my storefront. That's my billboard. That's my Yellow Pages ad. That's my flyer. That's my brochure. However you want to say it, guys, it's just the world that we're living in. That's what's there. So that's what I use. Do you end up seeing some other personal stuff once in a while? Sure. But if you look, like I haven't posted a picture of my kids in 5 years or something. I can still be personal without being too personal, right? You can protect things that you want to protect if you want some privacy there, but then, showing regular things in your daily life. But the key is just kind of separating. Now, why do I care so much about what's there? I think there's no quick fix there. Ryan, Michelle was talking about it, everybody. I saw something. I love the universe. It's so great. I saw a great video today from Gary Vee, and there was a guy wanting him to do something and just kind of yell at him to just, get to work or something like that. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. What you're looking for, like just some quick tactic. And the tactics are great, guys, but sometimes you can fix the sink, but what you really need to do is you need to fix the well and the pipes that go to the well, right? You need to dig deeper is what he's saying, right? You can slap a Band-Aid on it. You can put some plumber's tape on the sink, but if you don't fix the well and what's going on there, then nothing matters. So it's not just what's happening here. It's not just posting on social media. It goes to the last part of what he had posted in the Skype channel. It goes to the belief that you can become successful. So we have to look at where the struggle comes from and what we need to do to change that. And there is no, one size fits all, unfortunately, guys. There's no one tactic I could tell you where this is it. There's no one thing I can do that's going to, flip that switch for you. I can share a few of the things that I've seen. I can share what I've done. I can share what some other people that I've worked with have been able to do. And we're moving into a really interesting time right now. And I want everyone to be aware of this, with the holidays coming up, wherever you're at in the world. There is Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, there's Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, or there's all these different things. But December is typically a month full of holidays. And even if you don't actively celebrate one of those, they're going to be in your face. The New Year's, I think everybody on the planet kind of celebrates, right? It's a new transition. You have Thanksgiving here in the US, but you also have all of these other times when you're going to be with friends and family, or you're not going to be. Maybe it's because of lockdown. Maybe it's because you don't have a great relationship with them, or maybe you just don't have family. And so it becomes a difficult time. It becomes a difficult time because you're going to spend time with people that may or may not believe what you're believing. It also becomes a time when maybe you're not going to spend any time with them. You're going to be sitting alone wondering what the heck is going on. And then we're going to start thinking about our business. And then we're going to start thinking about why we're not doing what we're supposed to. And then we're going to start thinking about why we aren't making the money we want to. And then we're going to think about, well, I've never really been able to do this. And then in my past, I did X, Y, Z. And then we go down this, crazy world. And we look at things like visualization. And I posted this on my story earlier. People that think visualization doesn't work and is a hoax are the same people that are constantly visualizing why they don't succeed, and they go down the rabbit hole of all of the problems that they have in life. You need to look at where all of this stems from. This is where the self-awareness comes in. This is why, I'm going to go talk to a therapist, this week. And I keep that going. It's why I've got, mentorship is why I ask consistently for other people to get on the phone. I was on the phone this morning with Jason Howell, guy that got me into all this. They introduced me to the Big Leap, got me thinking about Gay Hendricks. It got me into all this. You guys have met him. We were talking about things, and this is at its core, guys. You got to figure out underneath the layers where your feeling of I'm not going to be successful comes from. Is it guilt? Is it, look at what Gay said, right? When we're looking at some of that stuff. Where's my notes? Some of the basic things he talks about with the upper limit. Let me find a few of those, because it really does play in, right? Those hidden barriers. So a feeling that you're fundamentally flawed. There's something inherently wrong with you. Some invisible crime or act that you created, sometimes you're not even aware of, right? That happens a lot of times if you heard your parents talking about things and they're stressed because, I just don't have enough to give X, Y, Z to the kids. I wish I could buy them, a new baseball glove, but we just don't have it. I have to work so much, man. And now we have the school activity. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's something you heard from a sibling when you were little. Maybe it's something you heard in your teenage years. Maybe it's an ex-spouse or lover that kind of took you on an emotional and narcissistic roller coaster and screwed with your head and emotions. There's all sorts of different reasons. So feeling fundamentally flawed might be part of that. Next would be that disloyalty and abandonment. If you succeed, then you're leaving the family or the way that they all are. You're not being the same thing. There's the more success brings bigger burdens. So if I do succeed, maybe some people that had success that struggled with their family, and you're not looking for that, or they had, whatever reason. Did you grow up thinking that there was something wrong with success? Then you have, crime of outshining, right? If you do better than your siblings, is that going to be a problem? Or better than your parents? That was something that I dealt with for a long time, being better than my parents were. Love my parents to death. My dad was a locksmith, ran his own business. Really one of the most intelligent men I've ever met in my life, knew everything about everything. As punishment one time for getting in a fight, me and my friends doing something stupid, he gave us a 90-minute lecture on styrofoam. That was his punishment. You're going to sit there and listen and not move. And this is what I'm going to talk about. And I remember after 30 minutes, I was just like, oh my God. And he just kept going. Chlorofluorocarbons and this and that. And I'm just like, how do you know all this stuff? He's a locksmith, for crying out loud. That was our punishment. But my dad's one of the smartest men I'd ever met. My mom was a nurse, worked hard, for all of you men and women that are in the medical industry, that just, hats off to you, the amount of work that they put in. And, went to school, had her degree in order to become an RN. And then here I was when I started doing some things that was making money. It took me a long time to be okay with making more than they did. Including the fact I had, with my ex, there was constantly this conversation of like, yeah, we need more, but I'm scared what'll happen if we become rich and if we make more than, it wasn't even rich. She's talking about making more than $100,000. I'm scared what'll happen if we make more than this. Are we going to be okay? Will we be humble? Are we still going to do this and that? And it was just always, it took a while to break out of that. You got to figure out what it is, Ryan, any of you, why is it, where does that come from? Why do you feel like you can't be successful? And then you got to start to break it down. And honestly, looking at something like this challenge over the last month and doing something every single day and pushing through, and then adding in elements where you're working on yourself and that self-talk. I think Michelle talked a bit about, that internal dialogue in the Skype chat and everything else. And David was talking about it too. Guys, you got to look at what you're saying to yourself. And then it takes time to build out of it. And I will tell you something, it's not something that's just going to go away. Even once you start making money, whatever it is, you start doing all right, right? It doesn't just automatically go away. There's still going to be those moments that pop up, but you have to reinforce yourself constantly. That's what it's about. Right now you've got to break down all of those neurological pathways. You've got to break down all the habits that we've got, all of the sayings that we've done, this dialogue that is constantly streaming in our subconscious, because that's what we've been feeding for decades now, to why not me? Why shouldn't I? I am going to, I do deserve, I will achieve. That's got to become, our new conversation. So good time to write a new story. Absolutely. How long is that going to be your story is what you got to kind of ask yourself. How long is what I'm saying this right now? How long is that going to be, my script, how I live my life? Oh, you mean I can change it? Guys, you got to remember, you're the one that writes that script. Michael saying, when I first entered sales, it was decades ago, was stressed that rejection is not personal. It really isn't business. It's not personal, guys, but how you talk to yourself is always personal, always. So you've got to work on that dialogue and then figure out where it comes from, and then be patient with the growth. I've never seen anybody that just turned it around like that. I've never seen anyone that turned it around and didn't have consistent doubts with themselves. Occasionally, but people that never, ever, ever doubt themselves, that's kind of a sociopath. But no, I'm kidding. But there's a difference in people that may have a doubt here and there, but they don't vocalize it. They recognize it and then they rewrite it right away. And you've got to do that. Every time that thought comes up, you've got to recognize it and rewrite it every single time. So, Michelle, okay, fundamentally flawed due to past relationship situations I'm addressing with someone who's a professional, breakthrough sessions, trauma, release, including anxiety, limiting beliefs, intuitive, uses that skill with her therapy. First tough session. She does a combo NLP, inner child work. Yeah, find someone that you can work with, or sit down and work on yourself. Ryan, I believe you've got the big leap. All of you guys should at this point, but there's a reason that I reread that all the time, right? There's a reason that that you're constantly needing to dive into that world of success. Motivation doesn't just come and okay, yeah, I'm done. I did my stuff, check that off the list. I love that when people come in to this program or other things I've done over the years, and working with James Lawrence with Iron Cowboy with stuff. And, you hear people go, oh no, I read that and I'm good. I'm good on the motivation. I don't need anything. Okay. Right. So then all your problems are solved. You've got everything that you need. Well, no, I mean, I've got this and this and this. And then after 10 minutes talking to him, you go, oh, so really, you're okay on the motivation to start something, but the motivation to continue through, the motivation to believe that it's actually going to work, the motivation to keep yourself going through the struggles, you suck at that, brother. Now, I've said that same thing to myself over and over. It's not like I'm pointing any fingers with anybody here, but guys, just, it really boils down to, if I can summarize a couple of things, don't take it personal, figure out where it comes from, decide on which of these barriers need to be worked on the most, and be patient with yourself. So, and along with that, recognize what you have done. Don't disparage that in any way. Okay. And if you have someone significant in your life that you can have that conversation with, say, look, I recognize that I have a tendency to downplay everything. I'm not great at receiving compliments from someone else, let alone myself. I don't give myself credit for anything. And I just got done with this, month here. So what I'd like to do is, if you hear me downplay myself in any way, can you kind of point it out? Can you let me know? Odds are they're going to say absolutely. And then they'll do it, and it'll kind of become a game. Make it a game. Hey, anytime I do that, let me know. I'll drop and do, 5 push-ups, or I'll get you, I'll buy you something cheap, because odds are at the beginning you're going to do it a lot. So you don't want to spend too much money. You don't want to go crazy, but figure out something. Ask for that help if you need it. Pay attention to yourself. Okay. And just constantly reinforce the positive. That's the best thing that you can do. The only thing that you can do is constantly reinforce the positive. It's a struggle that we all have. You're not alone in what you're dealing with. I promise you, you are not alone in what you're dealing with. Other people are recognizing what you're doing and are applauding you for it. You just need to look in the mirror and applaud yourself once in a while. And that goes for every single one of you. On that note, I'm going to let you guys go. We'll do some Q&A a little bit later this week. The gratitude is, the gratitude list is inside the challenge folder. So grab it, think about gratitude, sit down and work that stuff out. Hopefully some of you guys are continuing on in November, challenges that we began in October. I've modified mine, like I said, already sore again. So super excited for the rest of this month. It's going to be one hell of a time. But go out and do some amazing things, guys. Michelle, great. That's fantastic. He's coming home. That's wonderful. Congratulations. I love you guys. I appreciate you being on so much. We've got an interesting 60 days or so coming up at the end of this year. It's time to make some magic happen in your own lives. Appreciate you. Talk to everybody later. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye. Sometimes you, Andrew, have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it.
Thank you.
Go forward.
Good call.
So what do you need to do?
Thank you so much.
How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are.